It's been over 1 month since the Barnyard Animal pack came out, and since that first announcement, a lot has changed. We've learned that this isn't the last pack for Planet Zoo. We know a lot of details hidden throughout the pack and its animals, but what hasn't changed? Are there still problems with the pack? Is it a good pack? Is it worth your money even? A little while ago, I did a quick 60-second review of the pack stating basically if you are into petting zoos, then get the pack. If you're not, don't get it. And in this video, we take a look at all of the animals in the pack and some of the pieces together and go a bit more in depth than I did in that short review. We'll look at the pack as a whole and see if it's really worth it and see if Frontier made the right decision in making a petting zoo pack. A common complaint about this pack I've seen is about its animal picks. The pack consists of 7 animals, all of which are quote-unquote clones, meaning they don't have any unique rigs or unique animations. This isn't to say they are direct clones, because they are different of course. For example, the chicken is a clone of the peafowl, but the two look nothing alike. There are some that do look similar though, like the donkey to the Somali wild ass we got in the arid pack, as well as the goat to the alpine ibex in the Euro pack. This begs the question though, if none of the animals have unique animations that need immense amount of work, why couldn't we get an animal that did need more work, or where did that time go if the animals didn't need that much work themselves? The main species I've seen requested that missed its opportunity in this pack is a species of duck, which even though they now have the swan rig available, I still think this might have been a bit too much for Frontier to make for this pack, especially because of the feathers and maybe new animations. Like ducks have an iconic feeding behavior in the wild where they kind of like tip themselves over in the water and submerge their head in and try to like fish out algae and fish. So with these new animations and textures that they might have had to do, we don't know for sure that they had time for all this. Maybe hence like the reason why it's cut. We, as the consumers, have no idea how long it takes to actually make these animals, whether they are clones or not. There's a lot of work to put behind sound design, textures, and other small details, so it's definitely possible that they didn't have the time to make a duck, or any other high quality animal. Even an animal like the guinea pig, which could have been basically a clone of the black-tailed prairie dog from the North America pack, I still think maybe that couldn't even make the cut, because guinea pigs have like a very different fur. They have fur that like in long strands that almost gets to their legs and the floor, so maybe that would have been too much to work on. I feel like fur is a big thing when it comes to even things like clones. We also have to remember that in the free update we got a big feature, that being animal interactions between the guests and the animals, like the feeding and petting animations. This could have taken a lot of time, resulting in less time for the animals' designs themselves. I mean, this is a big feature, and this is probably one of the bigger features we've gotten probably in history, and it's one of the ones that people wanted the most. This even shows the animals may have gotten less time through some of the missing details that we've seen, especially on release day, like the donkey missing its iconic back stripe, or the Highland cattle's off-putting size, which is very small. Even though they can come in that size, Highland cattles are usually a lot larger for the wild version, or even like in general. So it's kind of off-putting to see them such a small size compared to some of the other buffaloes we had. Now, another thing I've seen a lot of comments on is the specific breed picks they have chosen for the animals in this pack. Now, obviously it's a given to have a goat, pig, cow, a horse or donkey, and a sheep in a pack like this. But why the odd breed choices? Breeds like the African dwarf goat, coon pig, and the Shetland pony seem to be the most brought up as alternatives to the ones we did get, them being the Tamworth pig, Alpine goat, and the American standard donkey. This is something I feel like they could have actually done something about, especially for the pig and goat. The coon pig, looking at pictures, has a similar looking texture of fur to other species we have gotten, like the horse or the goat. I feel like they could have used these textures on this animal and give us a pig species that looks different from the other pigs we had gotten recently, especially considering that we had 3 pigs in 2023. We had the peccary, the boar, and the red river hog. So it would have been nice to get another pig, like even if we did have to get another pig, that looked visually distinct from the other ones and not just this bland orange one. Choosing the coon pig would also represent New Zealand, a location that has very little to show for in the game compared to the Tamworth pig, which is a UK like British species, which has a lot of representation not only in the game, but this pack specifically has more than enough UK animals. Same with the goat. The African dwarf goat is a lot more commonly used in petting zoos and has a very similar texture patterns to the goat we did get, and it's more popular in general. So why they didn't choose the more popular species of goat is a mystery to me. The Alpine goat is yet again another European species, species, which doesn't really help the continental diversity of the pack since most of it is European. This basically, looking at it overall, taking away the petting zoo aspect, is basically a third European pack after Europe and Eurasia. The only logical explanation I can maybe think of why they chose so many European breeds in this pack is because Frontier's HQ is in the UK, and base the animals of this pack off of the animals near them. Because we know that Frontier usually sends out like teams or whatever to other parts of the world, kind of like to see firsthand the animals before they actually start making them and kind of contribute that into their works. So it might be easier or less expensive to look at animals nearby to them in their HQ, rather than traveling across the world, which it could cost more money. Moving on, as far as the actual animals go in the pack, they all are pretty amazing. I did scold them for not having unique animations, but I really can't blame them because the actual animals that they have chosen act like their in-game counterparts. Like, a goat is gonna act pretty much the same as any other goat we have in the game, so you can't really fault it for not having unique animations. Overall, the general animal picks for this pack are great, but there's still room for improvement, especially considering the lack of continental diversity with the breeds. Alright, so I have all of the construction pieces laid out. If these are the only pieces, if you go into the construction tab, we'll go into the nature ones in a second. But let's first look at these. So we have like your classic signs, pretty average as normal. The sign styles tends to be the same in the last few packs, and I'm glad they are being consistent with these. Sizing, pretty accurate, look good, and they chose the goat for the statue of the pack. And honestly, it looks pretty good. Alright, now we have the main construction pieces. So this is what I was kind of talking about with varying on usability. Some of these are very useless to me, at least. I don't know how you... again, it's very subjective to talk about pieces because I don't know what you guys really want, like, in terms of pieces. I may find something useless, but you guys use, like, every time. I can't really talk too much about that because it's varying, of course, from person to person. But for me, things like this, the rustic sign, the water tower, sorry, the water tank... what else? We got the windmill. This is cool though. I feel like this is new. I think this is the fact that these things, like some of the stuff in the items can now spin. I feel like this couldn't happen before. And then you also have stuff like the hay bales. So this stuff is actually pretty good. I would say this is the hay bale, like the regular square hay bale. It's probably good for hoofstock enclosures. Alright, and then you also have the planters. This is probably the most useful stuff of the pack. These, like, you have barrels, you have buckets, crates, a milk churn, I guess, yeah. And you have this metal kind of planter and also a half barrel, I guess, planter. So this is probably the stuff I use most often. It's definitely really useful, especially the planters and stuff, if you're going for more of like a rustic kind of zoo style. The fences is decent. I would say this is mainly for a petting zoo build. And these two are kind of, I think you could probably get away with using these like in a regular build, especially with like the poles and stuff. I do kind of want to use these. I'm going to find a way to try and use these new poles in some way in my next build, so I'm going to see if I can do that. And these are obviously the flexi-color version of that. The wheels, I mean, I guess they're there. I guess these are kind of like... I feel like this is like a mix of generic and also petting zoo stuff. I can't really see me using this in a regular build, but I also... I don't know. It's just kind of there. For the hay, for this thing, I generally don't understand what you're going to use this for. But alright. And you got your just roof decorations. The vegetables are really useful though. These are probably good for like any kind of like gardens or vegetable farms or whatever like that. So those are also pretty useful. Overall, yeah, I think that it's a mix of very useful pieces and also very not useful pieces. Of course, this is considering that you like building like regular zoos. If you're looking for a set that has like regular zoo stuff, I wouldn't look at this pack because this doesn't have a lot, and if you're only buying the pack for the pieces, then it's not going to be worth your money. Alright, so we've looked at the scenery, now let's look at the foliage. So there really isn't a lot here. We have two new pieces of foliage. We have the ginkgo tree, which I know a lot of people did actually want, because it is like an iconic, it's one of those iconic named trees, I guess, that you can, it's decent to me. It looks good. I don't know if it's one I'd use regularly, but then again, I use like maybe like 3 or 4 different types of trees. It's very hard to actually like get into like trees I'll use regularly because I'm just so fixated on like 3 or 4 different types. And you also have the corn, which I really can't think of a way you would use this without like it being corn. I don't know what you would use this, like what other intentional purpose you could use. I guess you could put it into like different fields and stuff and like lower down into the ground, I guess, but I just use other props for that, like just use other pieces of foliage and it looks way better. So overall, foliage is just kind of for me. It's good for a barnyard setting. I mean, it really only comes with the corn, and that's really it. So it's just not really a big factor in this pack. Overall, my opinion on the pieces really hasn't changed much. There are some pieces that can be used all the time, no matter what zoo you're making, like the buckets, vegetables, fences, and hay, but there are also pieces that are more difficult to use if you're not building a petting zoo, like the maze, water tower, windmill, wooden wheel, and so on. I'm going to let you guys decide what to make this. Pieces are a very subjective thing to talk about since everyone uses them in different ways, so I can't guarantee you that you'll find this piece useful and this piece not. So we return to the question we open with. Is the pack worth getting? In my opinion, it might be. And I'm sorry I don't have a definitive answer, just like I did in the other review, but this pack really is subjective to the buyer. For any other continental or biome pack, I could tell you if the animals are worth it because of their looks and how useful they are. But all of the animals in this pack are under a certain theme, a theme that the community is heavily split on. I'll say this though, if you want to build petting zoo sections in your zoos, then I do recommend getting this pack. It is very difficult to build a petting zoo without this pack because there are so few animals that fit in the petting zoo setting outside of this pack. If you aren't interested in building petting zoos or the animals in this DLC in general, either don't get it or wait till it comes on sale on Steam, because it is a cool bunch of animals that you may find interesting someday. If you never want anything to do with this pack, at least check out the new interactions between guests and animals from the free update, because you don't need the animals from that pack for that. And the fact that Frontier added these animations for other animals like raccoons and capybaras shows that they were kind of thinking of people who wanted something other than petting zoos. Overall, is it a good pack for what it is? Yes, everything in this pack makes it a lot easier for players to make petting zoos, so it delivers on its overall theme. Could it have been executed better? Of course, there are several areas in this pack that can be improved, like certain breed picks like we talked about, or the Highland cattle size, any smaller details like that. This isn't the pack I personally wanted, and I know a lot of people also feel this way and have been vocal about that, but all I hope is that those who don't like this pack are happy for the people that did. Because whether anybody wants to admit it or not, petting zoos were a request almost from the very beginning, and they were up there with birds and aquatics. I really hope you all enjoyed this review. I've never done a video quite like this before. I just wanted to dive a bit deeper about why some are unhappy about this pack. I really enjoyed making this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. And if you did, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. Lots of exciting things are happening, with us maybe being only a month away from the next pack, so we can start speculating. I have a bunch of ideas that I can't wait to share with you all. As well as our own personal projects that are going on. We just finished a huge detailed petting zoo with all the barnyard animals, so if you want to check that out, feel free to do so via the link in the description. And soon we'll be getting back to the tropical house, building for some new rainforest animals. Lots of fun stuff going on, and I would hate for you to miss out on it, so to make sure you see the new videos, hit the red subscribe button. It's free and it means a lot to me and our small community. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your own thoughts on the Barnyard Pack in the comments. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.